As a photographer, I constantly meet women that wish they were more beautiful. They'll say to me, change this, Raquez, fix this, smooth that. Or I'll catch them saying, oh, they're not beautiful, or they wish they could do this to their bodies or that, looking at this, comparing themselves. All of this pain. This made me realize that women face so much pressure just to feel like they're enough. So I decided to create the SHAPE campaign. SHAPE represents simply human advocating positivity everywhere. SHAPE, get it? So I launched a nationwide search and received submissions from all over the country, but only 7 proved to have what it takes. I want to take the diamond in the rough and make her shine brighter than ever. I'm looking for determination, creativity, confidence, and heart. Every size, every color, and every shape. And you better believe I don't shoot for the stars. I create them. SHAPE. Welcome back to another episode of the SHAPE Campaign Podcast. I'm your host, Raquez Rouse. Today I have the marvelous Marla Johnson. What's going on, Miss Marla?
Hello. It's such a pleasure to be here.
It's such a long time coming. I've been looking forward to this. You are literally our season finale for season 3. So kudos to you. What has this experience been like for you?
It's been wonderful. It's been very well executed. It's been just a wonderful experience. I've really discovered more about who Marla is, or this new Marla, what she likes. Yeah.
Nice. So we're going to kick off today's episode with an icebreaker.
Oh, goodness.
It's called Shape Shifter.
Okay.
How it works is I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Mm-hmm. After each question, you'll have 15 seconds to answer. Are you ready? Okay. First question is, what's the best one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Confidence is the best thing you could ever wear.
Yeah. Confidence is the best thing you ever wear. Love it. Next question. If you were offered one free cosmetic procedure, what would you choose?
Oh, my goodness. I guess, if anything, I wouldn't want to change what's already here. Mm-hmm. If anything, to make it better. But I have lost a lot of weight, so maybe something with my skin, excess skin, yeah.
All right. Which television character has inspired you the most?
That is a good one. I would say Olivia Pope, because she gets the job done by hook or by crook, but it might be questionable, but it's going to get done.
No, I'm trying to think. Olivia Pope. I know that name, but I don't know the show.
Scandal.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I've never seen Scandal, so okay. The people that watch and listen, they know exactly who you're talking about.
I have my wine and my popcorn, yes.
Okay. What is one song that has helped you overcome a heartbreak?
Jill Scott, Slowly, Surely. Says, slowly, surely, I'll walk away from desperate and dazed love. Caught up in a maze of love, the crazy, crazy love. Yeah.
You're very poetic. Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about that particular situation, about what happened?
Young and your first real love.
Mm-hmm. Lean a little bit forward into the mic too.
Okay. Just being young and your first real love, and just the time the album came out, because it was Words and Sounds, Volume 1. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It just really did help me through my first love experience, Yeah.
Beautiful. Shout out to Jill.
Yes.
Saving lives out here.
Okay. And sons' lives. Yes. Mother, sons' lives, yes.
There you go. What is one song that makes you feel like that girl?
Ooh. There's quite a few of those, but I would say Beyonce, Get Me Bodied.
Oh, yeah. Classic. B-Day, yes. 2000, circa 2006.
Yes.
Okay. Now I wasn't expecting it. Get Me Bodied. Okay. I haven't heard that one in a while. Okay, cool. If you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
My superpower. I would say to be invisible.
Mm.
Just to really, I'm good at reading a room, but to really read and confirm the room, that would
Or maybe when they don't think you're in the room, to listen in
right
on what's being said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this last one is a trick question if you don't know the answer, but you're only getting 10 seconds for this one. But you've been powering through these questions, so I don't think you have a problem. What does the acronym SHAPE stand for?
Oh, goodness. You got me on that one. I'm not sure. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Not even a letter? Okay, it's... Well, see, my ladies have some homework to do.
Yes,
only one of them got one letter. The other one got another letter. So I guess we got P and an E. That's it. All right. That's all right, though. We'll make it work. So let's get into this conversation today, Marla. Thank you again for being a part of this campaign. I know you have such a devout history with just being a model in the photography world and modeling industry. Some things you've shared with me. Tell me a little bit about exactly where you're from and what got you to where you are currently.
Okay. I'm from a small town called Roxboro, right outside of Durham. Mm-hmm. My grandparents, they're very traditional. I grew up in Roxboro, then I ventured out and lived in different cities, attended college, and I just really started to find myself, discover who I am. Mm-hmm. Being raised in a family that is from a small town that is very traditional, as a child and being a curious child, there were some things that wasn't even discussed, or it was just very plain in general, Mm-hmm. And then I just found Marla. Like I just said, what if I just started modeling one day? Why not? And so I did.
And what age were you when you started?
I was 29.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's considered technically a little later in your life to do that. Mm-hmm. What type of apprehension or what challenges presented themselves for you at that age?
Well, I think it was just not really thinking it was possible. Mm-hmm. So maybe to preface a little bit, so my mother and my grandmother and her sisters, they all sang in a group together, right? And so those Tuesday night rehearsals was where I first learned to be a woman. Mm-hmm. We were all brick houses with the tiny ankles, but I learned how to carry my stature, mm-hmm. And I learned that it's okay mm-hmm. to be this size. You're mm-hmm. still beautiful. Mm-hmm. And so I took that and I just ran with it, honestly. Mm-hmm. Just learning who I was and just being bolder and bolder. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And speaking of moms, I know your mom was very instrumental in your life, mm-hmm. the late Miss Carla.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your relationship dynamic with your mom.
So my mother, I'm the oldest, and my mother was a school teacher. She taught in our little town for 20 some years. Mm-hmm. We were always very close and a lot alike. And I guess coming up as a teenager, you realize like you're really just like your parents, and you understand that and you're like, okay, I get it now, mm-hmm. But we had a beautiful relationship, mm-hmm. Even all the way to the end, mm-hmm. With the circumstances. Mm-hmm. She passed of pancreatic cancer.
So sorry.
And thank you. It was 8 months from diagnosis to transition.
So a quick downhill, pretty much, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I understand that was around the pandemic time.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So with all these things, it was just snowballing, mm-hmm. But one of the beautiful things is that we had all the conversations that we needed to have. We even talked about what the end would look like. Mm. And I'm like, you're not going to scare me away. I'm going to be right here. Mm-hmm. And we were.
Now, I understand that the representation of a butterfly has a great significance to you and your connection with your mom. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's just me in general. a butterfly is just a new chapter in life. I get a butterfly for, I've had one when I lost my first 100 pounds, and, I just add one. But it's to me, it's a symbol of just a new chapter, a new beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so even now, I could be outside, or I'll see a butterfly just rest on me, or, one just kind of flutters by.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, Mom, I see. Butterflies or cardinals as well.
Butterflies or cardinals,
Mhm.
okay.
So I'm like, okay, Mom, I got you.
Now I understand that you are an adult care home director.
Yes.
So talk about your career and how that has led you to modeling or vice versa.
Okay. I started out a CNA when I was like 18, right out of high school. And I've always wanted to help. I've always worked in healthcare. I've always had just a special place for the elderly.
Mm.
And Alzheimer's and dementia became my specialty.
Mm.
And so you just grow. You grow in the business. And I'm fortunate to work at a wonderful place that I've been at for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a wonderful philosophy. There's a standard of care that I truly love. And it's just a passion. That's my first love, my first career.
Mm-hmm.
But also I wanted to do something different that still made an impact. And so, and vice versa, even with the modeling, it still pays forward. Like yesterday, I was fortunate enough to do a confidence class with some of the younger girls at my church for Family and Friends Day.
Nice.
And I just love the idea of being able to speak to the 13-year-old me, the 14-year-old me, So yeah, they kind of coincide, but I think they're both their own ministry, yeah.
And I understand that when you were say 15, you went through like a rebellious streak.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Well, I was questioning a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
questioning who I was, questioning my own feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have adults or parents who don't quite understand, there's not much discussion. It's more, okay, Lord, we got to pray for my child,
Is there any specific questions that you had that were going unanswered, or that they gave you a remedy or an answer, but it didn't really make sense to you?
When it came to questions about sexuality,
okay,
or, why is this seen as this way? Why is it we have to get the oil and pray for an idea or a question or a thought, expressed by a child, not a child, but, a teenager.
Right. Are you someone that would consider yourself religious or faith-based?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, more so spiritual. Yes. I think relationship is very important. Sometimes with tradition, understanding the tradition, but to me, relationship is more important than anything.
Got you. I understand that you had a love of your life, and this person passed away. I want to say you all were engaged or together for about 7 years.
7 years.
Can you talk about that?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
And I'll say love of the life because I'll let you explain the rest.
Yes. You have those who are fortunate enough to have someone that they call a love of a lifetime. And she was it. In those 7 years, she made me a better person, knowingly or unknowingly. Just the experience with her, I grew personally, professionally, and, I'm just fortunate enough to have that. And things, come to a close and, you move forward, but the love was still there. And then not too long after that, she did suddenly pass away. But her family and I are still connected, and I'm just grateful for our time. Yeah.
What happened? How did she pass away?
So I think it was cardiac arrest, and it was very quick, and yeah, She was.
And I understand that this was around the time your mom passed, right? Or a little bit before?
A little bit before.
A little bit before. So 2 devastations.
Yeah.
How do you bounce back or be resilient from that? How does that work?
Well, a lot of times when you just don't have a choice and somebody has to do it, you pull up your bootstraps and, and you just do what you need to do. You
make it look so easy and gracious. I think, a lot of the times when people say things like, well, you just got to do what you got to do, keep putting one foot in front of the other. And that is true. But sometimes I do feel like it's easier for other people to do that than it is others. And I think it might just be a DNA wiring or just the blueprint of how some people are made. Some people, they don't know how to pull themselves together without that push. And then while some people, they don't have the push, so they just have to figure it out and, go on as they go along.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I do want to kind of circle back to about the dementia and Alzheimer's awareness, because I think that that's a very key component. Myself, I didn't know that there was such a vast difference between the two. Can you talk about the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's?
Sure. So dementia is the actual disease. And where the dementia is, it's the part of the brain that's dying. So if it's frontal temporal, it's or vascular, which is like strokes, things like that. Alzheimer's is a different part of the brain. So whatever the part of the brain is affected is the type of dementia it is.
Are those the only two, I guess, would it be called cognitive diseases or?
Well, dementia, yes, is like the umbrella.
Okay.
But yeah, you have Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and Pick's disease. Yeah.
And is it more so older age type of individuals that are more susceptible, or is there a younger form of dementia?
Well, rarely. I've seen younger.
Okay.
But I've seen as young as 60.
Okay.
And the younger, the more aggressive it is.
Really? And then the lifespan is a lot shorter,
right,
as well.
Wow. On average, for elderly, it's about 7 years. For a younger person, it could be 3 to 5.
Now, with that type of disease, is that the proper term to use for it, to call it, or is it okay?
Diseases.
How does it show up? What are the signs?
So with my grandmother, for example, we started seeing things like bills were being missed, or what was happening is she was having a hard time turning on the television, and she thought it was the cable company. And so she was switching cable companies because she thought the service wasn't working.
Hold on. So she was having a hard time turning on the television, but she thought it was a cable company. So the power to the TV, she was having a hard time turning it on.
Right. Or, they have the resting screen.
Yes.
And then you just press the guide button.
Right, to activate it.
And that's what it was. Yeah.
Wow. And then is it preventable? Are there ways, because in my mind, I'm thinking maybe just keeping the mind stimulated and active.
Yes.
How do you prevent those diseases?
Well, a lot of things help prevent it. Diet, drinking water, exercise, and constant movement. Also, environment has a lot of things. Family history has a factor as well. But yes, diet, high antioxidants, your strawberries and your blueberries, your spinach, things like that, yes.
Hey, it's your guy Quest here. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Shape Campaign podcast. And as a quick reminder, please be sure to check out all of our exclusive interviews from the rest of our Shapecast, as well as the promotional rollout at raquezrouse.com. And for more exclusive behind-the-scenes stuff that you may have not gotten to see, at my Instagram handle at mr.raquezrouse. That's Mr. Raquez Rouse. Now back to the show.
Nice. Now, moving forward a little bit, I remember you telling me that are you still technically married, or you were married and got divorced?
Technically, I'm still married.
Technically, you're married.
Separated.
And separated. For how many years have you been separated?
2.
For 2 years. And how long have you been married?
I've been married since 20.
So about 4 years. what happened with that dynamic where there's a separation that's just in lieu for 2 years?
So let me just say this in starting. I do care for my husband very much. And there's no ill will, there's no malice, but it is okay to speak on an experience.
Absolutely.
Right. And there's no disrespect. It's still the utmost respect. I still treat it in that way. But when him and I met, it was maybe 3 months after Tracy passed. And so we dated.
And that was, and just for the listeners to follow along, 3 months after the love of your life of 7 years passed away. Okay.
Yes. And so we dated, and, it was a friendship, and then it grew. But also in that was the pandemic happened, and then mom's diagnosis came, and then there was a proposal. And all of a sudden, a pandemic wedding on Myrtle Beach that October.
Okay, so let's break it down. So 2020 is when, so Tracy may have passed in 19.
Yes,
okay.
It was late night. No, it was early 20 because her funeral was right before the world.
So early 20. And then you said 3 months later, you met your husband currently.
Right, we were friends.
You were friends already.
Right.
And then you all end up getting married that summer on the beach.
That October on the beach.
October on the beach. And now, okay, I'm all up to speed. Go ahead. I want to track this timeline properly. Okay.
And also, it was around that time with mom's diagnosis.
So that falls in there between.
That was before the wedding.
So that was like early 2020 also, right after. You could, okay, I'm with you.
Yes.
Okay.
And so the wedding, it was beautiful. My mother helped with the decorations and all those things. Those were special memories that we had. And so as life goes on, and mom, she did pass the following year. There are things that you don't see or you don't recognize until I kind of had to step out of my grief. I had to step out, and I'm like, wait a minute. And eventually you just know that after conversations and a lot of attempts, if it just doesn't work, and I'm okay with that.
And I'm curious to know, because there's a lot of life transitions happening in there where it's like the emotions is kind of like whiplash. You're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. But I wonder how long, because I know you knew your husband before you all married, you were friends, but how long did that honeymoon phase last before your mom's passing?
I would say probably up until her passing.
So that was about what, maybe 6 months?
About 6 months.
6 months?
Yes.
So it's okay. And then after that, things just decline with the marriage. And
because you think about it, it's a lot of life changes. It's a breakup. It's a death. It's a marriage, a move, because I did move in with him. My sister and I had our own little queendom, and then the traditional thing.
Right.
It was all these things just back to back to back. And like I said, I had to step out of my grief for a second, because you think about a partner. How do you be there for a partner who's grieving and there's nothing that you can do about it? When it's hard for me to even have a conversation with them, and all I can do is just hold them. It's just difficult for one partner to kind of understand what the other is going through and why needs aren't being met, or one is really just down and one has to pick up where the other left off. It causes tension.
And you're saying these things speaking on behalf of your husband.
Yes.
Okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I get what you're saying, and I agree it can be challenging, but it doesn't make it impossible either.
Right.
And instantly my mind is thinking, well, the vows that were taken on October 20, on the beach,
20, yes.
This is when they get to come into effect. And how do you hold up to what you vowed? So was it that he wasn't willing to do that, or did he try? In your honest opinion, do you feel like he made a genuine attempt to do these things to help console you and try to get you out of that grief-stricken state?
Yes.
Okay.
I do think that there was a genuine attempt there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you step out of the situation
Mm-hmm.
and look at it, you know, a part of it is being equally yoked as well. And when you're bonded, but not through trauma. You know, honestly, and just being very transparent, I do feel that there was a trauma bond as well. And I think that kind of superseded. It really kind of interfered in our friendship and connection that we really should have had.
What do you feel you two bonded over as far as trauma-wise?
I think with me, the death of the love of my life, because he went with me to the funeral. He was there to be
So he knew
supportive.
About your past with Tracy.
I was, you know, I'm just open,
Right,
you know.
right.
I'm one of those, let's put it all on the table.
Right,
you know.
absolutely.
And he supported me in that situation. And he was just present. He didn't even have to make it known, you know, which I'm very grateful for. But I do think that there was a genuine attempt, but I think there was a trauma bond. And when you realize that you weren't as yoked as you thought you were. Yeah.
2 years of separation, right? Why 2 years? Why not end it and just move on?
There's always that chance of, you know, maybe we'll reconcile. Maybe time apart, you know, is what we need. And I even said, I'm not hard to find. You know where to come and get me. So
it sounds like you're holding on to hope.
I was, yes.
And I wonder, because it's almost been as long as your marriage, 2 years of, well, it has been 2 years of separation, 2 years married. So is there a deadline for you as to when you're going to make an ultimatum?
Well, I think at this point, it's just a matter of time. And I think it's from both parties, you know, because there's no push and pull on both sides.
So a matter of time before you just go completely finalize everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is what I'll say. I'm for your happiness and what's in your best interest. And so whether that you feel like this is a positive for you or whether you feel like it's best to walk away, I support your decision. And I just want you to make the best decision for you. And I want you to know that I'm in your corner and I support you wholeheartedly. I just feel like that's important to say, you know?
I appreciate that.
Because decisions like these, you know, I'm not married or never been married, but I can imagine that they're not decisions you just make based on waking up one day feeling a certain way. You have to really think about it. And sometimes that's why people are separated for about 10 years sometimes, because it's hard sometimes to just close that chapter,
right?
You know? Yeah. So, especially when you still are hopeful.
Yeah. And I'm grateful that there's no animosity.
Right.
You know, it's a general conversation. You good? Okay, yeah, I'm good. All right. You know.
Absolutely.
And I'm good with the peace because I'm at peace.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now I understand that you went through it was a gastric or the sleeve. Is that the same thing?
Yes.
Tell me about that. What was that like? Is that the same thing as BSG?
Yes.
It is the same thing so talk about that.
So in September, I actually it's called the switch, but it's like, well, let me backtrack. I did have the gastric sleeve in 2013. Okay. My highest weight was 517 pounds.
Okay.
It was required I got kicked out of programs because I had to lose a certain amount of weight for them to even operate on me. So I finally found the right program. And I had wonderful doctors at Wake Med. And I had the gastric sleeve August of 2013. So I lost, it was almost 200 pounds. It was like 180, somewhere in there. So that's been, 10 years ago. And so after my mother passed, I actually started to gain weight. I think, just grief weight and life happening. That was my way of coping, right? And so once my mom passed and then my grandmother, and anyway, life is happening. And I finally found the time to take care of myself. So I found myself, I had gained about 70 pounds in that time. So I said, I want to do something for me. I had a lot of recurring issues and, things needed to be corrected anyway. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take this time to really take care of myself and do what was best for me. So that was in September. I had a revision switch September of last year. And honestly, I just feel it's been one of the best things I could have ever done. I'm at my healthiest. I feel centered, focused. And I've lost, since September, I've lost like 110 pounds.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
So with you, I got to really break down timelines because you speak in timelines and I have to listen very intently. So, and I'm okay with that. But so 2013 is when the journey began. August of 2013, for the first time, you got the gastric sleeve.
Yes.
And then 2023, so it's about 10 years later, your mom passes away in 2020, but in 2020, am I right? 2021. Okay. See, I'm getting mixed up with my timelines. So 2023 is when you got the revision.
Yes.
So how was that experience different from the very first one?
I've learned as we get older, self-care is very important. The recovery was longer. I found myself making sure, you go above and beyond for your care, making sure you take your vitamins, making sure you're using the right products, your medicine on time, eating the proper things, the timing of eating, all these things. But
portion of eating.
Yes, thank you. But one of the things is I just wasn't as resilient as I was in my 20s, but it's okay. But I've always been the fighter, and I'm one of those, you create a safe space to heal. I got what I need, just stay away, let me do what I need to do and just bring it all back together.
And so I remember the day of the shoot, we had a brief conversation about the show 600 Pound Life. And I watch it from time to time. And I understand that with that type of procedure, there is an amount of work that is required beforehand. And how can you, from being someone that was on that side or close to it, how does someone get there? Is it easy as it looks, just to eat, or how did that happen for you?
Yes, food is an addiction. For one, you have to get to the root of the problem and figure out what it is. Me, I'm an emotional eater. I eat when I'm happy, when I'm sad. Families, what do? We get together, we eat, right? You bring this, you bring the sides, and we're going to throw down.
That's right. That's how we do it. I'm with you.
Okay, that good old mac and cheese. Okay.
Don't get me started.
Chicken, yes. And I mean, very easily that can happen. If you don't deal with the issues at hand, you'll implode.
And then I wonder too, because in my mind, I would think there's a level of uncertainty, fear. Myself, I've had challenges with my weight. So I can understand that, not necessarily being, 500 pounds, but just the constant concern about, am I going to gain it back? I got to work out every day. Because some of us, we have to work out to maintain a certain size. We are not naturally that way. So does that show up for you anyway? Any type of anxiety about that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was gaining, I was slowly watching myself gain. And then I'm like, I got to get more clothes or, but it was just, I couldn't really focus on myself at the time. I was just coping or on autopilot, as we say. Yeah. But it did rest in the back of my mind.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's almost like a worry that some people would never understand. And then you also deal with the denial sometimes because you're like, oh, this is fitting a little different. Maybe it's just because the dryer.
Right.
That's my favorite go-to thing, the dryer. But sometimes it be the dryer. I ain't gonna say, I'm not gonna lie, it be the dryer sometimes. But the point I'm making is you have to almost fight with yourself internally sometimes because you don't want to realize, hey, maybe I need to move a little bit more. Or maybe I need to incorporate a little bit more fruits and vegetables and less of this or whatever the case is. So that's important to keep in mind as well. Absolutely. Now I understand that you founded, you are an amazing woman, founded Pretty Pores during the pandemic. Tell me about Pretty Pores.
Yes. So another passion of mine is bartending. To me, it's not work. I just enjoy the socialization because a lot of bartenders were counselors, we're just listeners. I enjoy celebrations and the music and the whole aspect. So during the pandemic, I was like, just like we all, trying to run the world from our computer.
That's it. Yep, that's it.
So I said, why not? Why not just give it a go and see what happens? So I started the LLC for Pretty Pores, and I eventually got my first client maybe about 3 months later for a wedding. And, started from scratch, got it out the mud, and it became a big success. And it's just grown ever since then. Yeah.
And I understand that you, did you tell me you hosted an event at the, the Greensboro homecoming?
Yes. So homecoming last year, shout out to the Aggie Gents. We provided services for their fundraisers they had. So that we had the VIP and it was 800 people sold out. I mean, it was awesome. Yes.
You came out the gate swinging. That's fantastic. Now, I'm curious to know, with the SHAPE campaign, right? What have you been able to walk away with from this experience that you are going to take into your life moving forward, and even into your modeling career? Because I know you were modeling before you joined SHAPE, but what are you going to take with you?
That I'm still capable of doing what I want to do. Sometimes, you have to sit on ice for a little while, and family, rightfully so, you take care of family, you take care of self. And now it's just, what next? Where will I be evolving next? And I'm totally open to that. It does scare me a little, but I'm okay with that. Let's do it at this point.
Do it. Marla, what can you say to women that may be considering the SHAPE campaign moving forward? What advice would you give them?
I can say this has been a wonderful experience. You have been amazing to work with. Let me tell you something. I just want to say, and I've said it to you before, I truly enjoy someone that plans, that prepares, that over-communicates, and you do all of those things from beginning to end. I do appreciate the professionalism. I appreciate the encouragement. But yeah, this SHAPE campaign has been amazing for me. Just the way this weekend has taken place, because let me have a real moment right now. So I did a class called Curves with Confidence for a while. And when I stepped away from modeling for a while, I was like, well, do I want to bring that back? But then, now I have to kind of catch up to the curve, but I still feel classic, you know what I mean? Which it carries itself. But I still have to constantly find the edge, to stay there. And so I said, maybe I just shouldn't do the class. And something's been telling me you need to find a way to give back. And so to have the confidence class yesterday with those young girls and to see their eyes light up, it just gave me that motivation again. And then to have this platform today and to be able to talk about it. And even the things like when you brought up, I was like, yeah, we did talk about that. Like, okay, yeah. And sometimes you just got to remind yourself that you're capable and God puts you where you need to be.
Yes.
I feel like what is meant for you, it's like if I'm walking a runway and there are 10 doors, every door should open, so I shouldn't even break stride. That's how I know it's meant for me.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well said. Tell people how they can keep in touch with you, get in touch with you, and follow all of the amazing things that you have, even your business as well, Pretty Pores. Give them all that information.
Sure. Okay. So you can follow me on Instagram, MJ_the_model. Also on TikTok, same thing. Also on Pretty Pores. It's Pretty Pour Bartending on TikTok and Facebook as well. Yes.
There we have it. Marla Johnson. Go get them and do all that you are destined to be and be all that you're destined to be. All right. My name is Raquez. This is the Shape Campaign podcast, and we'll see you later.
Stay tuned for our next episode. Shape.